I went through a point in the past like hour of heavily desiring to have a cigarette to escape everything that I've been going through, which is morality and yeah, right and wrong, doing what's right and wrong. So, where did this start? This started, yeah, this started yesterday, before I went to work. So, on the nights I work weekends, on the weekends I work nights. Um, I changed my sleep schedule so that I could sleep before work so I wouldn't be up for 24 hours, and then not sleep when I got home from work. So usually I sleep during the actual nights, and then yesterday I slept from like um, 4 to 7, and I backchatted. I backchatted about not sleeping after work. I said that it's the right thing to do, basically. And since I saw it as the right thing to do, I went towards it. Like, yeah, it's an ego point. That's why I just scratched my neck. Um, yeah, it's still wanting to be perceived as good and right and better than. Like, same thing with as Bernard said, with the vegetarianism, where vegetarians will not eat meat to hold themselves above other people through a morality or a code of ethics. So it started there, and then I wrote about it, and I realized that I was holding that sleep point as a point of being right, and I was trying to do what was right and then feel good about it. So smoking also came from a point of morality, where I quit because I perceived it as right. And so today, just in the past hour, I went through a heavy experience of desiring to have a cigarette because I was trying to find a way to get out of that experience of morality, believing that, yeah, if I smoke, I'll move through that point. But really, I just wanted to smoke to escape from facing all this morality and to escape from facing myself and how I was feeling within that moment, instead of realizing that, yeah, I was looking for a cigarette to uh, make me feel better, to relieve the experience that I was feeling. So I what I did was, like, I haven't written the self-corrective application yet for the introduction to Destiny, but I thought, like, what would I advise myself in this situation? And I thought that to realize that I don't need a cigarette to change me right now. I don't need a cigarette to move past this point, and that I don't need anything outside of myself to move myself. Yeah, to move myself. And within that, I took that realization as it's common sense, it's practical. And the desire to smoke went away after that. I realized that, and I decided to take that on, because that's a massive thing for me, is that there's this stubbornness where I wanted a cigarette, and I was back chatting so much about, yeah, I can just have a cigarette. I do have a free choice, and I was trying to also justify it. And it was all because I was stubborn and just because I wanted a cigarette. So the deciding point there was to not have a cigarette. The deciding point that I created that decision. I stood by that decision because I was deciding to have a cigarette, except not moving on that through. So like I decided to have a cigarette, except I was debating with myself in backchat about whether or not I should, and justifying it, trying to create a belief, and just through all that I was just kind of creating that um, experience of having a cigarette. I was making that happen. So I realized that I decided to have a cigarette, but I didn't act on it. Like I decided to take that stand and not have a cigarette, and just decide to not have a cigarette instead of taking a moral standpoint of not smoking because I believed it to be the right thing to do, um, and holding myself above other people for not smoking or for being able to quit as it's some great thing that's been accomplished. So the main thing is the decision about it. It's the decision to not smoke. It's not holding yourself um, to like a, a moral standpoint where you believe yourself to be good and holding yourself there and not having a cigarette. It's when the decision comes, is it removes all morality, and it's just, what do you want to do, really? And in that moment, I just decided to not have a cigarette and decided to no longer think about having a cigarette, no longer backchat about having a cigarette. And yeah, the desire's gone, the want's gone, the thoughts are gone. I'm not entertaining myself with those thoughts anymore. It's just done. Yeah. That's the point that I fell on before, where I come to this realization that I'm doing this out of dishonesty and standing as a moral standpoint, and then I've smoked before just to kind of spite myself out of for standing in that moral point. I said, oh, since I stood in that moral point, I'm just going to go have a cigarette to erase it. And, well, that didn't help anything. I still existed in morality, because in that act of having a cigarette, I still existed in morality of right and wrong. I was spiting morality, and it just fuels morality. It just allows morality to exist. So yeah, it didn't solve anything. And again, it's a stubborn point. Um, and yeah, the decision where you remove all beliefs and all ideas, and you just decide. Yeah. and you, yeah, be self-honest. Realize why you're giving in, because I was giving in just because I wanted to feel a bit different than what I was. So, thank you for watching.